Hello, everyone, friends. You're back with the New Generation Airships project. Today we have a new and special guest, the very young man who came to us all the way from Saint Petersburg for his internship. His name is Mikhail, he's only 15 years old, and he's already deeply interested in airships. Mikhail, I'd really like to hear your story. How did it happen that you became so fascinated with airships in the first place? How did you even find out that there is a project called New Generation Airships? How did you find us? And how did you manage to get here?
Yes, so at our school, students in both grades 10 and 11 undertake individual projects on a topic of their own personal choice. And in September of that year, I specifically chose the fascinating topic of airships. Well, in class, everyone knows each other's topics. And one evening, this was around March, a friend messaged me, "Hey, look, I found this company," and sent me a link to AERONOVA.
So he found it somewhere on the internet and shared it with you.
So I really checked out what kind of company it was.
Airships indeed.
Yes, they really are airships. I got interested, realized the company wasn't very big, and thought I might have a chance to get an internship there. Well, some big company like ours probably wouldn't take on a high school student.
Well, at least the chances would be lower. So you sent them your information.
Yes, I successfully sent my personal information to the dedicated person responsible for internships at the school, and we were able to successfully arrange everything.
That's great. Honestly, it's really awesome that you managed to find a company, and it's even better that we were able to give you the opportunity to participate and see how everything works here from the inside. Why airships anyway? How did you become interested in this type of transport? How long have you been interested in them?
Well, at first I don't even remember precisely when. It was a very long time ago, perhaps during my 8th grade year. I found out that this truly remarkable kind of transport even existed. I immediately thought it looked absolutely beautiful. These colossal, magnificent flying whales, like majestic ships gracefully navigating the vast sky. Then, as time went on, I studied physics, got interested in engineering, and realized that airships are actually advantageous. They're cheaper, more practical, and don't require infrastructure.
So you started studying this particular type of transport, figuring out precisely how it works, what fundamental principles it uses, and ultimately came to those conclusions.
Yes, that is absolutely correct and right.
So that's truly how your interest started. I know you did a project on this very topic in school and you're still quite working on it, or was that actually a different project?
That was a project I did in 8th grade.
Eighth grade?
Yeah, apparently I got really truly into it shortly before that. I mean, I got really quite passionate about it. The project was essentially a detailed research paper about precisely what airships are, how they originally came about, how they actually work, and what their future development prospects are. And there was also a very practical part to it. Initially, I had genuinely wanted to make a vacuum airship, complete with a rigid hull and sophisticated remote control. However, it then became quite clear that standard garbage bags simply cannot withstand the immense pressure of 10 tons per square meter. Consequently, I scaled back my ambitions a bit, opting instead for a non-functional model airship meticulously crafted from wire and fabric.
So a rigid type? Yes. Did you fill it with regular air, meaning it was a kind of mock-up?
Yes, it was merely a display model. It never actually flew, it just stood there prominently, but it still exists even now. Now, in the 10th grade, I truly realized that I could actually do this, indeed.
A fully functional flying airship.
Not rigid, not vacuum-based, but it actually flies and is remotely controlled.
So you're working on it right now as well.
Yes, I'm diligently working on it right now. The envelope is already completely finished, although the playful cats have roughed it up a bit. Yes, the envelope is indeed made of durable polyethylene. The gondola and all the essential electronics are already done too. All that's left is to carefully make the crucial tail assembly. I've already made several attempts to build this particular project. One of these attempts was constructed out of foam plastic specifically 2 centimeters thick, primarily because I simply couldn't find anything thinner at the time. And it turned out that just because I don't feel the weight of the tail assembly, Doesn't mean it isn't there, because I can't feel 200 grams.
Will this be an issue for the airship?
Yes, but I made a tail assembly weighing 200 grams and it didn't work. Then I made one out of balsa wood and polyethylene. Here's a balsa wood frame covered with polyethylene.
So you did some experiments?
Yes. Unfortunately, it turned out to be not quite strong enough and subsequently broke. Now I've finally found exactly where to buy the specific foam of the right thickness, precisely 3 millimeters. And it's being delivered right now indeed.
So you're in the process of carefully assembling it now. Tell us a little bit about how your internship experience went here. You spent, let's see,
2.5 weeks.
you've been here for 2.5 weeks. Could you please share in general your initial impressions? How did you find the overall atmosphere, the team, and what did you do here? Just tell us briefly about your experience.
Yes, the entire team and the office environment here are truly great. I particularly enjoyed and appreciated the coffee machine. For the initial period, specifically the first 1.5 weeks of my time, I was working closely with Borodinsky. That's the electronics department and all that. There, I meticulously made a sophisticated radio bug, which is essentially a clandestine listening device and a corresponding radio receiver. The radio receiver works, though in a really quite strange and unusual way. Very strange indeed, but it only uses a single transistor. That's about 5 times fewer than the average number of transistors typically found in such devices.
On bugs?
At the receivers.
For the receivers.
Here you go. The rest of the week I was diligently working on 3D modeling and 3D printing, and that's precisely when I meticulously made some essential parts for the intricate tail assembly of the airship.
So you really managed to model them all yourself on the computer? Yes, I actually did. Did you have any prior experience with 3D modeling before that? Had you worked with it at all, perhaps in any capacity?
Well, a very long time ago. Back then it was indeed under very clear step-by-step guidance and instruction.
Was that at the school institution, or was it more of a personal hobby, so to speak, for you?
It was a programming club, and there they gave a brief introduction to 3D modeling. Basically, I didn't really have any experience. What I did have was very minimal, and I meticulously crafted a sturdy mount for the airship's essential rudders, which are the crucial components that securely attach the movable steering surfaces to the fixed, stable tail assembly.
I take it these particular items, they are specifically for the intricate model you are currently diligently working on, is that correct?
And I also made a mount for the tail assembly for this same model. So it will consist of 4 individual sheets of foam material, and I have meticulously crafted a specific part that will effectively hold them all together securely.
Are those 3D models? Have you already printed them? I've already printed them. We can take them with us and use them on the working model.
Yes.
Great. Have you had a chance to actually see the magnificent airship itself?
Yes. On the second day of my practice, I went to the airfield located in Novinky. I couldn't quite figure out if it was indeed my very first flight or not.
No, it wasn't the very first flight, but it was indeed the last flight we had in Novinky, so it's actually really quite great that everything lined up perfectly and you managed to catch that opportune window when we were conducting the very last tests in Novinky. Because now we've moved completely out of there and are relocating to another airfield. So it's really great that you managed to catch that moment during those 2 weeks, because it would have been a shame to attend the internship and not see the airship.
The weather was tricky that day, and until the very last moment, it wasn't clear whether we would fly at all or not. At first, it was wonderfully sunny and perfectly clear, with absolutely no wind whatsoever. But during that particular time, they were meticulously adjusting something significant with the airship. As far as I clearly understood, they were diligently finishing up the crucial thrust vector control mechanism. Then it was finally finished, and it started to rain quite heavily and get very windy, almost stormy weather conditions, but eventually, after some time, everything calmed down completely, and we managed to fly after all.
Did you take a lot of photos?
Yes.
They'll be nice memories. Is your school a regular one or specialized?
Well, I go to a private school without any particular special focus. It's just a general education school, but it is private. There are about 200 people there, and the classes are notably smaller, and this kind of allows people in the class to get to know each other much better. There are 16 people in our class.
Yeah, I distinctly remember we had almost 30 students, at least in my particular class. As I understand it, in the 10th grade, the school typically gives you the valuable opportunity to do internships at various institutions, right?
So basically, after the conclusion of the academic school year in the 10th grade, we are required to do an internship for a period of 2.5 weeks, and I was incredibly lucky enough to be able to do mine right here at this location.
The school handles the organizational aspects, right? I mean, it contacts the organizations and arranges for students to do their internships there.
Yes, that option is available too. So the school either lets the students arrange it themselves or offers its comprehensive assistance.
And how did they react overall to the idea of doing an internship at an airship company? That you wanted to go there? Did you take the initiative to go? Was there ever a moment when they said, maybe it won't work out? Let's find something else instead?
I don't think so. They supported you. Like, great, well done. It's good that you found a company yourself. It's just that a lot of the guys didn't know where to go. For some, it was only sorted out literally a few days before the internship. So, for example, someone wasn't accepted at one particular place and consequently had to urgently look for another suitable option. I didn't have any problems like that. I figured it out right away and found everything immediately.
How soon did you get a response from our company?
Well, it was about a full week. There were quite a few unexpected delays, actually. First, I wrote to the person at the school who is responsible for this matter. Then, that person contacted the company, and then the company eventually replied, and so on. So, yeah, I finally got a response in about a week.
How did your parents react to the idea that you'd have to go to Moscow, sending their son off for an internship at some kind of airship company? Turns out those actually exist.
Well, my dad often goes on rather frequent business trips to Moscow, so they took it pretty calmly and without much fuss. Plus, my parents have friends and acquaintances there. Overall, it's an unusual experience to live on your own. So it truly turned out to be quite a significant trial period for my adult life, because I had both demanding work and living independently without the constant presence of my parents. Overall, it was a truly great and enriching experience. You liked it, right?
Most importantly, yes.
No one ever comes in and asks why the entire floor is completely covered with a very thin layer of discarded socks.
So your relatives didn't actually complain about that? No, you brought that particular layer with you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I see. Tell me, did any of the other students at the school have particularly interesting projects, or are there any internships that people did or are still currently doing?
Well, most of the projects are not really related to internships. It just so happened that way for me. As for the projects themselves, for example, one person actually built a pulse jet engine.
Wow, that's interesting too.
Yes, it is indeed one of the very oldest and most foundational types of jet engines, and it was actively and extensively utilized during the significant period of World War II. The crucial point to understand is that its design is remarkably and inherently simple, and it possesses the astonishing and unique characteristic of having exactly 0 moving parts within its operational mechanism. Another particularly interesting observation was that there were 2 young women diligently making a film project that was entirely based upon a classic story by the renowned author Anton Chekhov. That's essentially the main point.
Overall, let me say again that it's truly great that you showed such remarkable initiative. It's absolutely awesome that you started getting genuinely interested in airships and found us. And it's indeed doubly nice that we had the wonderful opportunity to let you do your valuable internship here, right at our esteemed company. Mikhail, have you already decided what you want to do next? Where would you like to see yourself after school? You're in 10th grade now and you still have 11th ahead of you, right? So, have you already thought about where you want to go next? What you want to develop in?
Yes, most likely, I will definitely go into engineering, specifically within the aerospace field. It truly seems to me that this particular direction is rather unpopular at this current moment in time. Well, for example, in my particular class, I am almost the sole individual planning to pursue a technical field. Most other people are still predominantly choosing the humanities. Well, we'll see how it turns out when neural networks take another step forward.
Tell me, are there any specific internships or projects planned for the 11th grade as well? Will you also have to present them formally at school?
Yes, in the 11th grade there will be social practice. Right now I have industrial practice. This is where I try myself out in a workplace and it's mainly focused on me. And social practice is something quite similar to industrial practice, but the essential work takes place in specialized organizations that primarily work with children, the elderly, or individuals with various mental disorders. And also, in the upcoming winter season, there will be a significant project presentation, specifically the one concerning the innovative airship project.
The one you are currently working on right now? By that particular time, you will probably have already completed.
Yes, by that time I'll most likely have completely finished it and even had a wonderful chance to actually fly it. It's actually being specifically designed for indoor flights because, well, first of all, the entire envelope is meticulously made of polyethylene. It unfortunately doesn't hold gas very well at all.
And secondly, the wind.
Secondly, yes, the wind, the pressure inside is low.
There's no room for error.
Yes, no room for error, and apparently the engine is too powerful.
Have you already tested it?
The airship weighs precisely 1 kilogram, and its powerful engine produces up to 500 grams of thrust.
Well, for an airship like that, actually,
Yeah, almost like a helicopter.
that's quite a lot, yes.
A video of the extensive test flight of this airship will be posted somewhere later, perhaps on our channel. At our school, we have a very large gymnasium. It's 2 stories high and truly quite huge. It actually seems absolutely perfect for flying an airship like this. Well, even the Nova 01 could probably fly there.
So you'll be demonstrating how it works there?
Yeah, most likely.
And the presentation will be there as well, right?
No, the actual presentation will be held in another room, but I truly hope I'll be able to fly it over there very much too.
Cool. What goals are you setting for it, just for it to fly?
Just for it to fly and be controllable.
Hey there. What else are you truly and deeply into, Mikhail? Besides your significant interest in engineering, what do you genuinely enjoy in your everyday life? Perhaps engaging in various sports, or do you have any particular hobbies or leisure activities?
Well, as for my hobbies, I guess this is still somewhat related to engineering, but I've recently gotten into something quite interesting called Arduino. It's essentially a versatile microcontroller and basically a comprehensive set of electronic components that genuinely lets you build pretty much anything imaginable from readily available parts that are widely sold and are relatively inexpensive. From, say, impressive airships, in fact, my very own airship is actually based on an Arduino platform, to, I don't know, perhaps even a powerful gaming computer.
Did you gain experience working with Arduino and electronics during your time at school, or is this purely a personal interest of yours? Did you acquire this experience completely on your own?
Well, first and foremost, I got into it because of the project.
An airship, perhaps?
Yes, because of the airship.
So these were the necessary skills and knowledge you needed to acquire in order to realize this project?
Actually, this project really changed the direction of my interests, quite a lot. Before embarking on this project, I was mostly interested in many things like playing video games, specifically popular titles such as Minecraft. Now, as I have been working on this project, I have found that my interests have gradually shifted and I am now more drawn to the field of electrical engineering as well as to learning about the design and operation of jet engines.
Do you like speed?
Yes.
Perhaps the next airship will truly be jet-powered?
In fact, all airships are indeed jet-powered in a way because they expel air in one direction and move themselves in the other. So that is the fundamental principle of jet propulsion.
Do you often talk about your project? Do you share with anyone that you're building an airship at home?
No, I don't really talk about it that often.
And when the significant topic of this particular type of transport does indeed come up for discussion, what kind of reactions do you typically and generally encounter? How do people truly and genuinely feel about this important subject? Do you often have to talk about this topic at all?
Well, yes, quite often people frequently ask, why do we truly need this? We are currently living without airships, and everything appears to be perfectly fine. you know? But as the old saying goes, the best is the enemy of the good. So yes, airships can indeed make everything significantly better and more efficient.
Do you plan to further develop this project, perhaps?
This particular one, probably not, to be honest. Right now, I actually really want to redo everything from scratch, but the deadlines are quite tight, so I probably won't have enough time. But looking back, I can definitely say that I made a ton of mistakes.
Well, you can't do without them, but those mistakes made you better and more experienced.
Yeah, well, for example, I just completely and utterly ignored the significant weight of the fins when meticulously calculating the overall buoyancy of the airship. Later, it turned out that fitting into the remaining 50 grams was pretty difficult indeed, but fortunately, I had thoughtfully left a considerable amount of room for ballast, so it should definitely be able to fly quite well.
You have successfully compensated for it. Plus, you possess a pretty strong and effective thrust vector on the propellers, so even if it's a bit overweight, which is actually quite correct for an airship, thanks to the powerful engine, it will definitely take off.
Yeah. And right now I have just one single fixed motor on the airship. Plus, as I previously mentioned, it's really quite powerful for an airship of this particular size. So if I were to do a similar project again in the future, I'd probably install about 4 small low-power motors and add thrust vector control to them.
So you could maneuver, yeah. Do you have, let's say, any plans or ideas for the near future? Maybe another interesting project to build? Maybe it doesn't have to be an airship, but are you already looking in some particular direction?
Well, it would be interesting to make an airplane.
Or a rocket?
Well, first and foremost, an airplane, because I truly think it would be a very cool and incredibly unique experience to personally pilot something like that. I mean, it's one thing to simply fly quadcopters, which just blindly follow commands from the controller and execute them precisely. And it's a whole different thing with an airplane, which has its own behavioral characteristics, things like g-forces, critical angle of attack, and so on.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting experience.
Yeah. At first, I actually wanted to undertake a project about an airplane, like constructing a radio-controlled plane, but then I ultimately decided that a blimp would be considerably cooler.
I agree. Yeah, at the very least, it's much more interesting. There aren't any around right now, and it would be great to bring one to life.
Well, with the airplane, the significant problem was that I probably wouldn't be able to truly make something substantially better than the readily available factory-made options that were already on the market.
I still wanted to make something with my own hands.
Yeah, I really wanted it to be something special, unusual, something that doesn't quite exist yet. And while blimps do exist, there are very few of them in operation.
And if you think about it, blimps are actually quite simple in their construction, simple enough to assemble yourself. Even though there's quite a bit of engineering involved, if you go for larger models for a school project, I think it's really the best option, especially if you're interested in the topic.
Also, with a blimp, you fundamentally don't need any particularly complicated aerodynamic simulations. You just need to carefully balance the overall weight so that it flies straight and true, and then give it at least a somewhat streamlined and efficient shape. But in stark contrast, with an airplane, you either have to go through a truly huge amount of extensive trial and error, or alternatively, you must utilize complex computational simulations and so on to achieve the desired results.
Well, that's already a pretty big project. Well, maybe you'll get to that point too.
Yes.
Why not? All right then, Mikhail, I guess we will wrap it up right here. Thank you for coming. And finally, maybe you have some advice or a recommendation for young aspiring specialists who are also passionate about engineering. Perhaps there are a few additional words you would like to express to them at this very moment before we conclude.
Yeah, there is something quite interesting. Well, first of all, electrical capacitors are extremely useful components. Honestly, I didn't fully understand why they were truly needed or what their fundamental purpose was. I mean, I understood precisely how they functioned and worked, but I didn't quite grasp why they were actually used in practical applications. So here's precisely what transpired. I had the entire code meticulously written, all the essential components, including the precise servo motor and the reliable Arduino board. Everything functioned perfectly for a brief 5 seconds, and then, without warning, it would abruptly shut off completely. I spent several months diligently trying to figure out precisely what was wrong, why it persistently kept shutting off, and in the end, it ultimately turned out that there were brief power surges exceeding the allowed limit. And that particular issue was fixed precisely and effectively by adding a capacitor. I can also confidently say that you absolutely shouldn't give up on troubleshooting. Nothing truly breaks for no discernible reason, there's always an underlying cause, and with persistence, you can certainly find it. Furthermore, it's worth remembering that the vast resource of the internet knows everything and can often provide invaluable assistance.
Yes, the main and most important thing is to truly know how to ask the right and pertinent questions. So, my friends, it is clear that capacitors are indeed important. Never give up and always learn how to effectively use the internet. To sum up everything, Misha, once again, thank you for joining our dedicated team and for your remarkable passion for airships. I wouldn't be surprised if we see you among our esteemed team members in the near future. We would be happy to welcome you and see you again. If you're ever in Moscow, be absolutely sure to drop by. We'll always be truly glad to see you. See you very soon.
Yes, I also want to express a huge thank you to the AERONOVA team for providing this incredible opportunity, because this is probably the most interesting and unique place to undertake an internship out of all the various ones I could possibly imagine, and of course actively taking part in a thrilling test flight of the airship and in the ongoing development of these airships is incredibly exciting.
Great. Awesome. I'm so glad you were satisfied. Please come visit us again.
I'll come.
Take good care, and I'll see you soon.